The markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Robert Tan. Catch up with us on Business Brief. Asian markets rose Wednesday as Beijing announced a raft of policy easing measures. This also as traders cheered news that the U.S. and Chinese officials are set to meet this week, which may pave the way for broader trade talks. The Japan's Nikkei 225 is flat with an upward bias, while Australia's ASX 200 rose 0.46%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng gained 0.54%, and South Korea's Kospi climbed 0.40%. Indonesia's JKSE posted the largest increase among the group, up 0.74%. On the other hand, India's Nifty dipped slightly by just a fraction, and Taiwan's TAIEX declined by 0.18%. In the currency markets, the dollar rose 0.52% against the Japanese yen and flat with an upward bias against the Hong Kong dollar. It also climbed 0.22% versus the Singapore dollar and 1.64% against the South Korean won. The dollar posted a smaller gain of 0.11% against the Thai baht. Meanwhile, the Australian dollar slipped 0.18%. Gold prices slipped by 0.84%, while oil prices climbed across the board. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 1.13%. Brent crude gained 0.97%, and Dubai crude surged 2.77%. In the crypto market, Bitcoin advanced 1.55%, while Ethereum jumped 2.93%. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says no decisions were reached on tariffs during his meeting Tuesday with U.S. President Donald Trump, despite escalating trade uncertainty between the two countries. Speaking to reporters in Washington, Carney called the talks wide-ranging and constructive, but admitted the process remains a complex negotiation. The Canadian leader also responded to Trump's recent comments about Canada becoming the 51st U.S. state, saying, quote, "Canada is not for sale."
The president has made known his wish about that issue for some time. I've been careful always to distinguish between wish and reality. I was clear there in the Oval Office, as I've been clear throughout on behalf of Canadians, that this is never going to happen. Canada is not for sale. It never will be for sale. Some things, as I said in the room, some things are never for sale. And he agreed with that. So I distinguish between the two. And then with respect to the importance of reestablishing a constructive relationship for negotiations of a partnership, of an economic and security partnership, which is what we were here for. I look forward, not back, and I think we established a good basis today.
President Trump, who has threatened new tariffs on several trade partners, joked that he's unlikely to call Carney governor, a title he used repeatedly with former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Chief Trade Negotiator Jameson Greer will meet China's trade czar, He Lifeng, in Switzerland this weekend. They are expected to discuss the ongoing trade war that is disrupting the global economy. The negotiating teams are also expected to discuss eliminating duties on specific products. Washington first broke news about the meeting, which was later confirmed by Beijing. This sent U.S. equity index futures higher, triggering relief to markets affected by U.S. President Trump's sweeping tariffs. The first batch of shipments carrying Chinese goods with 145% tariffs are arriving in U.S. harbors. This means American consumers will face higher prices soon, while other goods will have shortages. CNN reports many importers have canceled previous orders because U.S. businesses do not want to pay the steep tariff. A logistics firm warns deliveries from China could fall by as much as 60%, and the supply shortage could lead to price spikes. China and the European Parliament are lifting restrictions on mutual exchanges as agreed by the two sides as they celebrate 5 decades of diplomatic ties. An expert says China and Europe both want to stabilize global trade rules. They also agree on safeguarding the multilateral system and building a diversified trade network. U.S. President Trump's sweeping tariffs prompted its trading partners to seek alternative alliances.
I think that for the EU and China, in this turbulent world, we have to live now with the transatlantic partnership with so many question marks over it. Is the perfect time to join forces for a stable world. We are two great civilizations, so we will agree to disagree on some matters, but that does not take away the fact that there is plenty of room, opportunities for cooperate, the business community.
Tesla sales continue to plunge across Europe. April figures show Tesla sales were down sharply in the UK, the Netherlands, Denmark, and Portugal, as well as Sweden and France. Tesla CEO and billionaire Elon Musk's politics has triggered backlash and protests across Europe. Musk has backed some far-right political candidates in Germany and the UK, his high-profile role in the Trump administration. And Washington's threat to slap steep tariffs on European imports are also turning off European buyers. Tesla has yet to issue a statement on this development. Meanwhile, Microsoft is officially shutting down Skype, ending a 2-decade run for one of the world's first and most recognizable internet calling platform. Skype revolutionized communication in the early 2000s, pioneering internet-based voice and video calls and amassing hundreds of millions of users. Microsoft bought the platform for $8.5 billion in 2011, but as work moved to cloud and mobile-first tools, Skype lost ground to faster, more reliable rivals. Microsoft now wants to streamline its product line, shifting focus to Microsoft Teams, its flagship platform for enterprise communications. Users can still log into Teams with their Skype credentials and migrate chat histories until early 2026.
Skype had its moment. It was really revolutionary back in 2003. It really democratized video calling. It enabled things, it enabled people to have video calls who weren't members of a big corporation and didn't have expensive equipment. So from that perspective, I think it will remain very important as a part of the history of virtual remote work and just the way that we work. It was the future of work back in 2003.
For the business community, this marks the end of an era and the beginning of a more integrated future for workplace collaboration. And we're taking a short break. The biggest business stories from around the country are up next. You're watching Business Brief. The Philippine Statistics Authority released the labor force survey for March, focusing on unemployment and underemployment. Sujin Kim has more details. Go ahead, Sujin.
Robert, the Philippine labor market suffered a major setback in March, with the total number of employed persons plunging by 1.13 million, marking one of the largest month-on-month job losses in recent years. This drastic drop comes amid the combined impact of seasonal employment adjustments, the ongoing impact of global economic headwinds, and the 2025 midterm election hiring ban, which froze recruitment for many government and public sector roles. Meanwhile, underemployment, or the number of workers seeking additional hours or additional jobs, surged by 1.48 million. This pushed the underemployment rate to 13.4%, its highest level since the pandemic, reflecting deepening job quality issues. The worst job losses were recorded in key sectors such as wholesale and retail trade, agriculture, construction, and manufacturing. These industries, which together form the backbone of the Philippine economy, have been hit hard by weak consumer demand, rising input costs, and supply chain disruptions. The impact was also felt across specific occupational groups, with elementary occupations losing 134,000 jobs. Service and sales workers also shed 123,000 positions, indicating a broad-based decline in employment opportunities. The overall size of the labor force also contracted, with the participation rate slipping to 62.9%, down from 64.5% in February, as many workers either exited the job market or delayed job searches due to schooling, family responsibilities, or low-wage prospects. And those are latest updates from Quezon City. Back to you, Robert.
Thank you for that report, Sujin Kim. Meanwhile, the Philippine rice stockpile inches up to 2.34 million metric tons as of April 1st. Data from the Philippine Statistics Authority show this is 26.2% higher from 1.86 million metric tons last year. Last month's stock inventory was also nearly 50% higher than the 1.61 million metric tons recorded in March. This as the National Food Authority, or NFA, and households posted bigger inventories. In a push to improve the ease of doing business and attract more investments, the Anti-Red Tape Authority is mandating all local governments to fully automate their business registration systems by 2028. The eBoss, or Electric Business One-Stop Shop, will allow businesses to apply for permits, licenses, and clearances online through single unified platform. As of March 31, only 115 out of the country's 1,642 local government units are fully automated. ARTA says it has already issued 431 notices to non-compliant LGUs and plans to file cases against 134 that failed to respond. ARTA Chief Ernesto Perez says there's no reason for delay. A free government-developed system is already available, and excuses likely funding or connectivity issues are no longer acceptable. The Office of the Ombudsman will determine sanctions for LGUs that continue to defy the directive. Transport Secretary Vince Dizon signals a green light for motorcycle taxis to keep operating despite the absence of an enabling law in a move aimed at protecting livelihoods and improving urban mobility. Dizon says he will sign a department order that will allow motorcycle taxis to continue operating while Congress deliberates on a law to formally legalize the sector. This comes after a meeting with ANCAS founder George Royeca, where Dizon acknowledged the industry's role in providing income to thousands of riders, with at least 45,000 employed across 3 operators: ANCAS, Joyride, and Move It. The original pilot program expired in 2024, but legislation has yet to catch up. Dizon, however, stresses that operators must comply fully with the department's new rules on road safety and driver qualifications to continue operations legally. Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon reopens the application period for public utility vehicle operators who have yet to consolidate their franchise under government's modernization. This came after Dizon's dialogue with various transport groups last month, where he ordered a comprehensive review of the program's implementation. The original deadline for consolidation already expired last year, but the latest decision gives the unregistered operators to comply. Petron Corporation, led by Bilyonaryo Ramon Ang, posts a net income of 4.03 billion pesos in the first quarter of 2025, holding steady despite global headwinds in the oil sector. Consolidated revenues fell to 194.38 billion pesos from 227.64 billion pesos year-on-year, dragged by lower crude prices and softer trading volumes from its Singapore operations. Operating income also eased to 9.47 billion pesos, down from 11.1 billion pesos last year, but still above market expectations. Petron attributed the slight dip to geopolitical tensions, volatile oil prices, and tariff-related uncertainties. Chairman Ang says the company remains committed to defending its market leadership amid a challenging external environment. And we're taking a short break. Business Brief will be right back.
On Trade Talks, we learn the tricks of the trade from starting and growing a business.
We we also got you covered on the latest tech trends. And we will keep you up to date on what's new in the lifestyle of the crazy rich.
Tune into Trade Talks.
Catch Trade Talks. Tune into Trade Talks
Only here
on
on the
Bilyonaryo
Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Ang bawat issue, mas matagal nang tatalakayin. At ang bawat anggulo, mas masusing susuriin.
Dahil ang bawat balita, siguradong may agenda. Ako po, si Willard Cheng. At makakasama na ni Corina Sanchez Rojas at Pinky Webb na maghahatid ng mga balitang dapat niyong malaman.
6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. na ang agenda. Dito lang sa Bilyonaryo News Channel.
First Gen Corporation reports a net income of $82.3 million in the first quarter of the year. That's 4.4% higher than the $78.8 million recorded in the same period last year. The Lopez-led firm says the gain was driven by lower operating expenses. Netflix subscribers in the Philippines will now pay more to stream as the 12% value-added tax on digital services takes effect. Netflix has adjusted its prices this month. The premium plan is now 619 pesos, up from 549 pesos, while the standard plan has risen to 449 pesos from 399 pesos. The price hike follows compliance with the Republic Act 12023, imposing a 12% VAT on digital services such as streaming platforms, online marketplaces, and search engines. The Bureau of Internal Revenue expects to collect 105 billion pesos by 2029 as the government expands its tax net to include global tech players operating locally. Ayala Land reports a 10% increase in first quarter net income to 6.9 billion pesos, powered by strong gains in property development and leasing. Consolidated revenues hit 43.6 billion pesos, with property development income up by 11%, driven by solid sales of premium residential units and commercial lots. Leasing revenues rose 7%, backed by stable mall occupancy and continued growth in office and hospitality segments. The company launched 4 new projects worth 12.6 billion pesos and spent 20.6 billion in capital expenditures, focused on residential units and estate infrastructure. Ayala Land also signed a land lease agreement with Metro Pacific Agro Ventures to build a high-tech greenhouse in Palawan, supporting its hospitality supply chain. Says the administrator Katrina Ponce Enrile on party mode as she celebrates her 65th birthday. Among her many attendees, a controversial former chief of staff of her father, Juan Ponce Enrile. Hanya T reports.
When the daughter of a political titan turns 65, she celebrates in style, not once but twice. Says the administrator Katrina Ponce Enrile marked her birthday with 2 separate celebrations. One at Cerveceria, a posh Kabalan group spot in BGC, and another at the private home of longtime friend Rico Ocampo. The BGC gathering was filled with culinary delight as Katrina's circle got together, with her longtime friend Robert Castañeda playing host. It also saw the return of a familiar face, Gigi Reyes, the ever-loyal former chief of staff to Katrina's father, Juan Ponce Enrile, making a rare public appearance since her release from detention for nearly 9 years over the PDAF case. Gigi's relationship with Katrina's father was dragged into the spotlight after being accused of conspiring with the former senator to divert pork barrel funds to fake NGOs in exchange for kickbacks. She was seated beside Katrina as friends serenaded the CESO chief with a happy birthday. They also danced to Earth, Wind and Fire's September in a night filled with nostalgia and Spanish dishes. While another intimate dinner at Ocampo's residence brought together society staples, Tessa Prieto, designer Randy Ortiz, Michelle Tianco, and other close friends of Katrina. A lawyer, entrepreneur, and government official, Katrina has been CESO chief since 2023, continuing the Enrile legacy in public service. Hannah T, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Philippine shares rose for the second straight day as investors continue to digest the latest inflation print. The PSE index ended higher by 0.7% to close at 64.65, finishing the day as the second best performer in Asia. Among sectoral indices, only property ended in the red, with industrial rising the most at more than 1%. Advancers outpaced decliners 113 to 72. Total value turnover reached 8.3 billion pesos. The day's most active stocks ended mixed, with BDO Unibank rising the most at nearly 5%, while Bloomberry Resorts fell the most at more than 4%. Meanwhile, at the foreign exchange market, the peso is currently trading at 55.33 against the greenback, strengthening from previous close of 55.61. And that's a wrap for today's Business Brief. I'm Robert Tan. Join us again tomorrow as we bring you the stories that help you plan your next big, bold moves in business. Only here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. See you then.